Welcome back. We'll go straight to Abuja, where we have Mr. Victor Aluko, Director of Voter Education of the INEC, standing by to speak to us live. Good afternoon, Mr. Aluko.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Right. Nigerians are expecting nothing short of credible elections today. What assurances can you give us that at the end of the voting today, INEC will deliver credible elections for Nigeria across the states?
Actually, it's been a very good day. I can say we have successfully operated at the polling units throughout the country. We deployed 176,600 and less than 606 polling units because FCT is not part of the places where we are having elections. We were able to we deployed early in the day, and they were able to open early in the day. Most of our polling units were able to actually start, relating with the voters by the usual 8:30 a.m. And throughout the day, in most parts of the country, voting have been seamless, voting have been successful. And as at now, it's about 3:30, an hour after the normal hour of close of polls. Polls actually closed by 2:30 p.m. And in some polling units where voters were there before 2:30 p.m. and they were not yet attended to, voting continues in those places. And in places where we have completed voting now in most parts of the country, the presiding officers are already sorting the materials, they are counting the votes so that they can announce the votes in their various polling units. After that, they will be entering the votes in the from ACATs, and then they will give copies to the agents of political parties. And then when they do that, they will also upload the results to the INEC result viewing portal. When they finish all that, they will also paste a copy of the result in the polling units, the wall in the polling units, or where people can see. After that, they will proceed to the collation centers, where they will give the result, the ECATs, to the residential area collation centers. So we've had an interesting day. The evening, I believe, will also be interesting. And we intend to do things in a fast way so that not too long, states can declare the governorship election winners. And also, before that, before we even go into the night, I believe that in many of the state assembly constituencies, we will be able to also be declaring the winners of the state assembly seats in various parts of the country. As you know, there are 993 assembly seats that are draft, and there are 28 governorship election seats we are conducting. So we've had a good day, and I believe the late afternoon and the evening and the night will also be good, as our officials are working.
Right. Right. But what would you say INEC is doing differently in these elections, with the benefit of hindsight of what we had in February?
Well, today, as I said, we were able to overcome the logistic problems. We were able to get our officials moving from the residential area centers where we camp them overnight, and we were able to get them to the polling units. We were in the situation room in Abuja, the National Situation in Abuja, where the chairman, the national commissioners, and the secretary and directors of INEC are all embedded, and we are monitoring the whole thing. We are monitoring every part of the country, and we have seen that the resident electoral commissioners, the electoral officers have actually tried their best to ensure that we were able to open the polling units early enough. That was an aspect of the problem we had on February 25. We overcame that problem this morning. And with that, we were able to attend to voters. And that helped us a lot. And of course, the voters have also been peaceful. In some places, some parts of the country, we had some results of skirmishes, but we believe the police were on top of the game and were taking care of all those aspects. Generally, the whole situation may not be perfect, may not be 100%, but the important thing is it's a successful day for us as a commission, and I believe it's a successful day for Nigeria as a whole.
Okay, Mr. Luko, you're the Director of Voter Education. I'd like to ask you, would you say dispassionately that INEC is doing enough, as well as other stakeholders? Are we doing enough to educate the Nigerian voter? Because we still have skirmishes, like you said, ballot box snatching, vote buying, and other challenges still confronting us.
Well, in terms of voter education, I think we tried our best. I also believe the political parties were also part of it. The media actually did a lot in this election cycle. And of course, all other stakeholders, the civil society organizations, they've also done a good job. The important thing is voters know a lot about the election. The information went around the country. Voters knew the dates of the election. They knew how to vote, the procedures. And they also knew the responsibilities at the time like this. And of course, the security agencies too, they also had their own trainings, their own instructions, and they are trying their best. No matter what you do, there will still be some deviance in the whole setup. So if there's any place where you see some form of violence, it's just nothing but social deviance. And I believe the security agencies are on top of this. Anybody who is arrested will have to face the music. The Electoral Act is there. The punishments are all listed in the Act. Whoever has been arrested today will actually face the music.
Okay, I was also going to ask you in terms of the performance of beavers. What has INEC? The INEC had a 1-week extension to reconfigure beavers, but reports we're having is that it's performing well so far. What did INEC do differently, if we may ask?
No, what we did was to reconfigure the beavers machines well ahead of the election. We finished the configuration on Tuesday, and we were able to deploy everywhere. We actually have more than 176,000 beavers in this country, and because we have what we call contingency, and the beavers machines are okay. We just reconfigured them. They are in good shape, and so when we deploy them with the level of training we've given to officials, today has been a good day because that training reflected in the smooth operation of the work of our officials. But one thing we also need to know is that after the presidential election, we didn't just rest on our horse. We had what we call refresher training. And the 1-week extension we got also allowed us to do another round of refresher training again to make sure the young men and women who were deployed to the field, actually leverage on the knowledge they had in February 25 to be able to operate better. And it's actually showed today. We didn't really have many problems at all with the beavers. And we need to commend the presiding officers, the staff presiding officers for all they have done today.
I also ask you, Mr. Luko, the treatment of ad hoc staff who work with INEC during this electoral processes. Earlier today, we got a report from Ikeja, for instance, that some of your ad hoc staff in Lagos State protested as a result of non-payment of their allowances. What can INEC do, to address these issues for future elections?
Well, that's a surprise for me because here in the situation room, we are not aware of any protest anywhere by any ad hoc staff. If there was any protest, I think the resident electoral officer in that state must have taken care of it. And one thing I know is that funds were actually deployed fully to all the states for all the officials to be paid. All those who worked on February 25 during the presidential and National Assembly elections were all paid. And they were all paid, even the people we hired records from, we paid all of them. So I'm not aware of any place where funds were not paid because the officials were using, the presiding officers are drawn from NYC, and we have a good understanding with the NYC. And one thing we assured the NYC of actually was that there won't be any problems with the welfare of the staff we are drawing from them. And so I believe that all over the country we must have paid. If there's any place maybe where there was any issue, maybe because of maybe bank transfers and that, I think the resident electoral commissioner must have settled the whole thing. And by the end of the day, when we actually do a review, when we get more facts from the field, maybe some of these things will be reported. But as at now, I can say I'm not aware of any place where presiding officers protested.
I want to ask you about. I just want to ask you about the issue of training of adhoc staff. One of the challenges during the February 25th elections was that most of those adhoc staff were not properly trained on how to handle the beavers, and that was one of the bottlenecks in that election. How do you respond to this?
Well, we noticed in the election there were some adult staff that did not really perform the way they should, the way they were expected to perform. And that's why I said we had a series of refresher trainings after the presidential election. We had a lot of refresher trainings all over the country. We were able to gather the young men and women together again. We were able to go through the whole process with them, especially the issue of handling the beavers, the issue of the practical use of the machines, the issue of accreditation, and even the issue of handling the voters themselves. So we had a good round of retraining of the staff, and we believe that their performance today actually was much better than their performance 3 weeks ago. And I think we need to really thank our staff all over the country who also handled all this training. It was not easy, but then we have to do our work, and they've done well, actually.
Right. One of the reports we got from Kaduna, for instance, is that voting is still going on when it should have ended at 2:30.
Yes, I told you. I told you that anywhere voters were on the queue before 2:30, we will not just tell them to go away. The law is that, or rather the regulation is that voting will continue until the last person has voted. So if there's any place people who are on the queue by 2:30, definitely we have to allow them to vote. So the Kaduna place you're talking about, maybe that's what happened there. I told you that polling has actually closed in most parts of the country, and that if you see anywhere that people are still voting, it is because as at 2:30, people were on the queue. And by their right, we have to ensure that they are allowed to exercise their franchise. I think that's just the regulation. We cannot deny people because maybe poll close at 2:30 while they were on the queue.
But the issue, Mr. Aluko, is actually beyond, INEC allowing your voting to continue beyond 2:30. The critical issue is the arrival of voting materials and ad hoc staff and your staff to polling units as at when due, and for voting to start at 8 o'clock as highlighted by INEC. What can be done again for future elections to ensure that these processes are seamless?
Let me explain again. As I said, in most places, very high percentage of the places we opened at 8:30 a.m. But in a few places, due to certain circumstances beyond our control, polling maybe did not start at the right time. So these places definitely probably will maybe move towards the late afternoon. And that's why I said that anywhere we see have persons on the queue by 2:30, whether because polling started late or not, the law says you allow them to vote until the last person has voted. And so, the framers of the law allowed that aspect of it because of the realities on the field. Sometimes in some places, there are circumstances beyond your control, and you will not be able to open your polling units in time. For example, if you have 3,000 polling units in a state, and you have maybe 100 places where you have to open late, then in those 100 places, polling may continue well after 2:30. But before the situation where you must have opened 2,900 at the right time. And so it's just an interesting development. But that is the reality of conducting elections in a big country like ours with all the circumstances.
Finally, let me ask you, what are your expectations at the end of the exercise much later today?
expectations that people will do their job quickly at the polling units and move to the collation centers. And at the collation centers, the collation officers will quickly collect, and they also declare various winners of the state assembly seats, and then the whole collation will move forward to local government areas and then to the state collation center, where the returning officer is, and then we can return the winners of the collation election. And after that, we can rest. We deserve some rest, really. We need to really take some time off. For some time now, many of us have not been sleeping, and it's not been an easy time for INEC staff nationwide. I think we deserve some rest after all this.
Luko, thank you very much. We wish you all the very best. Thank you for speaking to us. That was Mr. Victor Aluko, Director of Voter Education, INEC, speaking to us live from Abuja. Dr. Shetolu, you heard a few things he talked about in terms of INEC's efforts to ensure that these processes are seamless. Can you speak to that?
Well, you raised the question on election exceeding or voting exceeding
right.
the stipulated required time.
Right.
Well, you equally added, you said it was based on the law, but you insisted, I recall, that that the issue was late arrival
right.
of INEC adhoc and permanent staff today within centers. It didn't quite address that issue, which I consider germane. The INEC staff, particularly the voter education department, in my view, with due respect, rarely concede where there are issues and where there are difficulties and challenges. It's becoming a pattern that these officials will paint the picture that every other issue it's okay, and that and smooth and well organized, but quite often we get feedbacks that contradicts those positions. I listened to him talk. I wouldn't know if he was on the field. I wouldn't know what level of feedback he got. But the question is, it had to place for state officials, whichever level, to concede where there are issues, where there are challenges. That has been a problem, in my view.
Barrister Ogwande, you also, have interactions with INEC from time to time. I'd like to ask you to also speak to some of the issues raised during my interview with Mr. Aluko and his response.
That's the problem we have, and that's what my colleague have just said. Government officers, whenever we interact with them, interface with them, they see us as busybodies, they see us as meddlesome interlopers, they see us as just trying to put some sand in their garri. See us as their enemies, and they have this second leg enemy in the journalists, who are always asking questions, probing questions, because the Nigerian people are docile and they're naive, they're careless. All they are doing is just to pursue their daily bread, not forgetting that when the system works, the daily bread will be automatic. That the government itself is the one who's supposed to provide us with daily bread. That's just it, by virtue of Section 12 and Section 14 of the 1999 Constitution. But let's leave law again aside, and now let's look at the nitty-gritty.
Right.
Just as my colleague here has said, the man, Victor, was very evasive. That's the same thing Okoye will come up and be doing. And these are glaring inadequacies that we have pointed to them time without number. You went to the issue of logistics. My opening sentiments here. That is what I stated, beginning with that. Look, INEC headquarters has released money down, not getting to the people. And to me, it's not just the issue of releasing money, but it's the issue of the money getting to the source, to the people and the persons who are supposed to, so that it will not be the issue of monkey they walk, baboon they chop. I have stated that this is a recurring issue for any election, you see money meant for the ad hoc staff not getting to the ad hoc staff, but for the permanent staff, their money gets to them. They sleep in 5-star hotel, they ensure that their own welfare is taken care of. Yes, because they are youth corpers. If money is not voted for this event, we know money is not voted, then it is a national duty, then everybody must sacrifice their comfort for the sake of the nation. Not that some people will be enjoying and some people will not be enjoying. And again, I refer to the man, what was it now, old major in the animal farm. You remember him? He was bringing the principle of all animals indeed are equal. All staff of INEC are equal. But some IDOC are better. The permanent are more better than the ad hoc. That's where they are going here. And one will expect. And unfortunately, it's late in the day for this type of a thing. They've already done it. The damage has been done. You see, it's a natural thing that if somebody is given a responsibility and is not well taken care of, there is a possibility that he will compromise if he has some other opportunity which will surface in the when the other normal way is not provided. And we can see that happening all over. And it pains me that we are still in this circle of ad hoc staff not taken care of. The other day, well, I guess it was the election that brought in Peter Obi into office. This same Peter Obi, about 2012 or 2014, I can't remember. We were in Agulu. Peter Obi's village is Agulu. We were just 10 minutes from Oka, the state capital. We were going. I lodged in Oka. Then, of course, we wanted to go around monitoring the event on a day like this, but you know, they are off-season election. So we are going. We saw INEC officers. They were trekking to their unit. We had to stop. I had my vehicle. I have a bus that I marked, something like this one, but it's this one is. Anyway, we have to give them a ride. Where are you going? Of course, they said they are going to their duty post. What happened to the vehicle? Oh, God, they don't give us vehicle. No. They said, make we they go. And of course, where could they go? That second leg of your question that my brother again was saying that he did not answer very well. That why did they arrive at their registration or their duty post late? Because somebody did not release the material or the money or did not make adequate arrangement for their transportation. And all these things are things that should be taken care of. They are, to me, it shouldn't be any stress whatsoever, because these things, you know that an election will take place, you know that there will be a shutdown, there will not be vehicular movement, even welfare, feeding. There must be something. Maybe they make a remember that those who will come, those who will be these officers, so they are not on fasting, prayer and fasting session. They will be doing hard work. So there must be a food vendor that should bring food for them on between the morning and the afternoon when the ballot will close. You to know what you went through some few hours ago. Not to talk of this type of people now. So, and we have since banned that anyway. Before, politicians bring food to the polling units for people to eat, for the agro officers to eat. And when that happens, obviously, the politicians bring food. It's a natural thing that you want to compromise.
An easy way to compromise anybody.
So to me, these things are simple things that must be taken care of. You don't need that. We don't. If I'm disappointed that we are going through this again today, it's a disappointment to us, because in the next few weeks, you know, I'm collecting reports from my people, and all these reports will put them together, send them to INEC. One will expect that it will be read, but no way. It will just gather dust there. Except maybe once in a while, if we are lucky, the Spirit of the Lord talks to about one or two people, maybe the chairman, maybe one rec, or maybe one national commissioner, then they will now put them and say, okay, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. Again, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. Will not, but my own submission is that whoever, maybe it's Jagao, Mahmudo, or it's one of the recs, or there will be a national commissioner that will be in charge of compliance, ensuring that all over the country, these issues are complied with. Then he too will have his own staffers down the line, in various states, in various wards, in various local government areas, that will comply to whatever has to be done So that if anybody is found wanting, why are you not in your duty post? You see, not until you begin to punish people for inanities, then definitely the inanities will continue.
Dr. Chetolu, let me ask you to just give us your closing remarks in view of what we've received so far and in view of reports coming in, trickling in from across the country.
It's discomforting that the reporters offered feedback, you know, on vote buying, intimidation, and ballot snatching. It's unfortunate these are reoccurring. It's unfortunate, and that again points at the somewhat violent nature of politics and electioneering in Nigeria. It's unfortunate. It also suggests that that INEC and the security agencies have not been able to, you know, deal with the issues, at least to some extent, despite the assurances, despite the promises. The low voter turnout is equally disheartening. You know, local government House of Assembly, or state House of Assembly election is local and should ordinarily engender interest and enthusiasm. But there's a backdrop to this. You recall what happened in the 25th February presidential election, created some level of doubt, you know, and disinterest. That, I suppose, explains partly the low voter turnout. And the low voter turnout would imply that Nigerians would be electing minority governors and minority elected members of the State House of Assembly in the long run. How do I mean by minority? Minority in terms of vote cast in relation to accredited voters. You know, in politics and power relations, there's a question of legitimacy. The higher the vote cast for a candidate, for a political party, and by extension a candidate, it is assumed that the legitimacy is enhanced, you know, and conversely, the lower the vote cast,
in terms of acceptability.
Yes, yes. Conversely, the lower the vote cast for the party, you know, the perception of legitimacy is equally reduced. So, you know, that again is a challenge for democracy, you know, and the democratic process in Nigeria, where, you know, minority voter population are electing state officials who would exercise state power on their behalf. You know, these are some of the issues I thought I should emphasize.
Right. Pastor Gwande, let me also ask you to as we round off this session, just your closing remarks, taking a cue from where Dr. Chetolu left it off.
Well, this election has come and gone.
It's still going. It's still ongoing.
It has come and gone. We are done. Whatever. Well, let me agree with you. It's ongoing, but we know that the ongoing thing is. I don't think there's anything that can remedy it, and the only thing we can do is just to await the result. And from time to time, we have known that a situation like this is always a painful thing to people like us that have been involved in this. We have been in the trenches to ensuring that indeed voter education, voter awareness, and of course participation of the majority is the hallmark, because that's what democracy is all about. So just as my brother has said, if we have a minority government, in fact it's shameful that a governor will occupy the seat of a governor with less than 1 million votes in the state. A House of Representative member, a House of Assembly member like today will occupy that office with less than maybe 50,000 votes. A whole constituency, I mean, it's very, very poor. Look at it now. We elected a president. The president that we elected, or the president-elect, he has not less than 9 million votes. Yes, less than 9 million votes. and we have 80 million.
We're close to 100 million voters.
Close to 100 million voters, that speaks a lot. Even let's put all of them together. The person who came second has 6 point something million. The person who came next equally have 6 point something million. So 12 plus 8. That's that of the whole. We have less than 25 million.
Right.
Let's look at the pocket AA, Accord, Broom, Abuja, and all of them, which
all
again
together.
they are highly insignificant. Let's even just be so radical with the maths as a good teacher. Let's be radical. 25 million out of 80 million. Let's even give it 80 million. That's very poor. That's half of half. So it's a very poor outing. And to me, everything now falls in the face of INEC, because it means INEC did not do a good job. Because if they do a good job, one of their reasons, you just spoke to somebody, Victor Aluko, who is in charge of voter education. And of course, along the line, Victor Okoye is there. What are they doing rather than jumping up and down and granting? It's not about press interviews. That press interview does not go to the root of encouraging voters to come to vote. It goes to how are you. The issue now is that they have been going granting press interviews. It's like blinking in the dark. Nobody can see you.
All right.
So the issue is that the next election, the next state election, or maybe they will be having a rerun or whatever, or yes, a rerun or a rescheduled election in some areas, there must be increased voter education, because this apathy is a shame that there's all over the federation. My reporters here, my colleagues who are on the field, what I've been seeing is that there is low turnout, there is low turnout, there is low turnout, there is low turnout everywhere, and that's to me is not a plus to INEC. And I hope that they will sit down and think about how they will rev up their voter education department to ensuring that elections are coming, people will be involved. Yes, I guess somebody was saying yes, they can't force them to go and vote. You make things, you make something easy, you make some create and
to make it more attractive.
More attractive.
Right.
That's how creativity. That's what the element of creativity.
Right.
Like my colleague said some few seconds ago, is as if maybe one of the reporters heard what we are saying in the studio. That these reporters, the way they are bringing their report is not too creative. And all of a sudden, the next reporter that came was telling us that yes, he went to this place, he went to that place, he interviewed some people, he interacted with some people. That's creativity. And that's why we want INEC to bring into the issue, so that like we are a program like any program like this one too is because of the creativity that makes people stay glued to a particular station, not jumping. You see some people, they won't just switch on. What are they saying? Nonsense. But when they see the way things are coming, the way the analyst, the way the journalist is asking questions, obviously they will stay glued to the station, and that's what we call creativity. Right. INEC too should create to make this election creative, so that people will be interested in voting, not that people on election day they will just stay away.
Pastor Wale Ugande, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, and we look forward to having you soon. To God be the glory. Dr. Delisha Olu, thank you very much for spending the day with us. That's about all we can take on this segment of Election Watch. We'll be back much later as we continue to bring you updates and breaking news regarding today's governorship and State House of Assembly elections. My name is Kolawole Akintoba. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Galaxy Television presents
Overcoming the Past. It's fresh, it's new, and it's hot. Watch this new telenovela series exclusive to Galaxy Television. Overcoming the Past. 4 women end up working in the same place for different circumstances. They have come to realize that they have something in common and that they share the experience of having been victims of digital lynching. Carmen is faced with her husband's rigorous